delivered from the factory by rail and by trucks. The rigid schedule was maintained both day.
Place that 300 around the
My name's Dave, I'm your tour guide. Served in the Air Force down here in the 70s on a Titan missile crew. Try to show you what it was like for me to be a 19-year-old kid down there during the height of the Cold War, waiting for the order from the president. We're going to start out with a little 5-minute video about the Cold War and our role in it. Head outside, I'll point out a couple quick things. Head down the 55 stairs, level 2 of the complex. We have 3 buildings buried under the ground. I'll show you what the Air Force built, why we built it, go into the control center, talk about the crews, what our jobs were, simulate the launch of this missile. Then we're heading down this long cableway into the silo. Silo's a 9-story building, it's 146 feet deep. We'll be on level 2. Inside the silo, there's a separate structure called the launch duct. That's where the missile sits. That's the real deal out there. It's not a fake or markup. That's the 10th missile that came off the assembly line. Everything you'll see down there is real, including me, except for that bomb out there. Not the original missile, however. When we were deactivated, part of the treaty we had to make with the Soviets, we had to destroy all of the silos except this one, and most of the missiles. Few missiles were able to be saved, refurbished, used to launch satellites. This was the training missile that was at Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas. This is the missile we all trained on. The program ended, they didn't need it, so they gave it to us. Comes in 3 sections. First stage, second stage re-entry vehicle. Lower each stage down with a special crane, bolt it all back together. This is the only place on Earth you can see a liquid fuel rocket back in its natural habitat, back in the silo where it belongs. This missile never had propellant or a warhead on it, so it's safe for you to be next to. You'll be right next to it. Titan II is the biggest missile America ever built. It has the biggest warhead that we ever put on a missile. That's a 9 megaton thermonuclear device. It's equivalent to 9 million tons of TNT. This bomb is 600 times more powerful than the 2 atomic bombs that we dropped on Japan in World War II. For visual, if you took a train, started loading boxcars full of dynamite, the engines would be 1,500 miles away in Canada. We'd still be loading the last of the boxcars. That's what 9 million tons of TNT looks like. We're not a first strike weapon, we're strictly retaliatory. We promised the Soviets we'd only launch if they launched against us. So we weren't even necessarily built to fight World War III. We were built to scare the Soviet Union into starting World War III. Get down there, I'll point out what made it so frightening to them. Our job, goal, and mission here was peaceful, called peace through deterrence. In fact, the museum isn't a monument to nuclear war or to nuclear weapons. It's a monument to peace, and to all the men and the women that have kept that peace over the years.
Welcome to the Titan Missile Museum. You're about to tour Complex 571-7. This site was operational from 1963 to 1982 and was one of 18 silos here in the Tucson area. Before going on the tour, we're going to watch a brief video explaining the Cold War and the part that the Titan II intercontinental ballistic missile played in it. The Cold War developed in the late 1940s after World War II, when distrust rose between the United States and the Soviet Union. These former allies were now in a geopolitical fight for global influence. A key part of the Cold War was an arms race between the world's 2 superpowers. The focal point of the battle for military superiority was nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them. Both sides developed what became known as a nuclear triad, which is an integrated system of delivering these destructive payloads by air, sea, and land. This meant strategic bombers in the air, submarine-launched ballistic missiles from the sea, and land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles known as ICBMs. The Titan II ICBM that you'll see here was part of a second generation of liquid-propelled missiles. The Titan II carried the W-53, a 9 megaton thermonuclear warhead equaling 9 million tons of TNT. For comparison, in World War II, the Allies dropped 3.4 million tons of bombs. Each W-53 had nearly 3 times that equivalent. These weapons are city busters, doomsday devices with world-ending destructive capability. There were 54 Titan II missile sites assigned to 3 active strategic missile wings. There was the 308th Wing near Little Rock, Arkansas, the 381st Wing near Wichita, Kansas, and the 390th Strategic Missile Wing here in southern Arizona. Each wing was made up of 18 silos. A wing was composed of 2 squadrons, each equipped with 9 missile silos. Assigned to the 390th were the 570th and 571st Strategic Missile Squadrons. This silo was assigned to the 571st Squadron. Each silo was in operation 24 hours a day, 365 days a year by a crew of 4, 2 officers and 2 enlisted personnel. Crews were assigned to their silos for 24-hour shifts called alerts. The Titan II missiles sitting in their hardened protected silos with their ability to launch in less than a minute were a credible threat of a retaliatory or second strike against a preemptive nuclear attack. This meant that an aggressor could not expect that a first strike would destroy all the opponent's nuclear strike capability. The aggressor would in return be devastated in a second strike. This is known as mutually assured destruction. If one side launches, then the other will respond, at least as forcefully, ensuring that both countries will be annihilated. This concept was also expressed as peace through deterrence. The theory is that since neither side could win a nuclear war, that neither side would start one. In 1982, the Air Force started deactivating the Titan II missile system as newer ICBM systems came online. The 390th was the first wing to be deactivated. 5 years later, in 1987, the last Titan IIs were deactivated, 24 years after the missile's initial development and deployment. The Cold War continued until 1991, when the Soviet Union dissolved into its member states. In this sense, peace through deterrence was successful, without either side launching a nuclear strike. Before going on the tour, I'd like to cover a few safety items. First, watch your head, especially if you're over 6 feet tall or around 2 meters, because there are many low beams in the silo access tunnel. Secondly, watch your step, especially on the stairs. Keep your eye out for any desert critters inside and outside of the silo, especially around doors and curbs where they like to hide. If you see one, remain calm, don't touch, back away, and let a staff member know and we'll take care of it. Also, please listen to your tour guide and any instructions they have. Also, save any questions until they say that they're ready for them. And lastly, thank you for visiting this National Historic Landmark, which is a window into the past.
All right, folks, couple things. There are no round. That door's heavy, and there's a step up. Watch your step. Clock that's in Boulder, Colorado. Your clock can never be more than 1 second off. This is our launch clock. The launch clock is set to Zulu time. 0 meridian, where the time zones start. All our nuclear forces run on Zulu time. It avoids confusion. We don't care if it's AM, PM, daylight savings time, because it's the same time for all our nuclear forces, no matter where on Earth they are. And right now, it's about 7:45 at night for everybody. On military terms, 1,945 hours. No confusion. Last 2 crew members are the enlisted people, the workers down here. Most technically trained people on the crew. First one is the MFT, Missile Facilities Technician. They take care of the facilities. They keep us alive, they keep that missile alive. We have 9 floors out there, jam-packed with anything you think a liquor fuel rocket could need. Hydraulics, pneumatics, sewage, water, power, air conditioning, heating, electrical, and plumbing. This person takes care of all that stuff like a jack of all trades. The last crew member is the BMAT, Ballistic Missile Analyst Technician, computer expert, the electronic technician on the crew. The BMAT's a crew member with the most schooling, was considered the smartest person on the crew. I was responsible for all the electronics. The launch control system, the missile itself, the guidance system, the warhead. My job is to make sure that rocket works. Sat out there in the silo for 20 years. Stick your car in the garage for 20 years, go give it a shot, see how you make out. We can't fly a test or start it, because if we start up the engines, we just started World.War.III. But from here, I can test everything but the engine. The crew's job on a daily basis is decode secret messages, monitor, maintain the missile in the complex, troubleshoot any problems that arise, keep this place in a state of readiness. That missile has to be ready to fire every second of every day. Some of our equipment, this one's the facilities, my launch equipment, breakers for everything below ground. This is called the MAGAP, Missile Guidance Alignment Checkout Group. This is the interface with the guidance computer that sits on the missile. This thing tells that missile, 1, where it is, 2, where it's going to go. In order to hit a target somewhere in China or Russia, that missile has to know where true north is at all times. The MAGAC is what shows it. This is called the annunciator panel. You'll hear it in a couple minutes. That's our security system. Told you, the only camera on the property is watching the phone in the cage. Make sure nobody has a gun to our commander's head. There are no cameras up topside. No security up there either. All we have is these things called tipsies. I'll point out later. Doppler radar. Just sending out a radio beam. You cross that radio beam, we're going to get an alarm. 8 of them got the silo closure door. 2 of them got our air supply. You break that beam, the alarms are going off. The big gray thing back in the corner there. That's called the blast valve. That valve is connected to our only air shaft. It's going to slam closed. It's going to cut off our air so nobody can kill us while we're down here. It also slams closed during a launch or if it detects a nearby detonation to protect us from the radiation. We're not a submarine. We don't manufacture air. That valve closes, all we have left to breathe, whatever's left in here. These alarms go off. You get on the horn, call the base. They send out a roving 2-person team, see what's happening. No questions asked. Use a deadly force. We're not going out there, Captain. We don't know what's out there. We're not going to open the doors and allow the enemy in. They'll come. They're never more than 20 minutes away if we really need them. This panel is our fail-safe. Every nuclear weapon has a fail-safe. The Air Force installed this to stop an inadvertent launch, either accidental, crew that went crazy, or crew that had been infiltrated. Called the butterfly control valve lock. Just a combination lock, connected to this. This is a cutaway of a butterfly valve. It just butterflies open and lets the fuels flow. There's 4 of these valves on the first stage engine. 2 on the oxidizer lines, 2 on the propeller lines. To tell you 2 ones on a hypergolic fuel. Hypergolic means ignites on contact. We don't need a fuse, match, or a spark plug to light that rocket off. This valve gets a signal, the 4 valves swing open, the 2 fuels mix, instant explosion, we get liftoff. One of the valves has a locking mechanism connected to this. If this valve can't open, none of them can open. If they can't open, we can't launch. You think you're going to go start World.War.III on your own someday? Why don't they try to manually make it open? This valve has an explosive housing. It'll explode, it'll melt closed, and rocket will never launch after that. It's useless. The only way to ever get this to open is to put that combination in. Now the commander doesn't know the combination. You don't know it, do you? Deputy doesn't know it, and the base doesn't know it. Only Strategic Air Command knows it. You'll only ever see it if the Soviets have launched a nuclear strike and we were ordered to retaliate. There's 17 million possible combinations, Captain. You gonna guess that? The answer's no, Captain. And if you try, on the 7th wrong try, that will melt down. It'll never work again. We're no longer in a state of readiness. You're no longer a captain in the air. We didn't go near it. It has a seal. It's the only thing connected to the outside world. This silo's unhackable. But if we touch a dial, the base knows it. You're in trouble. Now, a typical day of work. At 7 in the morning, all the missile crews meet at this top secret bunker on the base in Tucson. They give us a top secret briefing. They're going to talk to us about anything going on around the world they think we should know about. Troop movement, military buildup, political problems. Meeting ends, jump in the crew trucks, drive out to the silos. Replace the crews who were there for 24 hours. They take our truck, they drive back to the base, and we sail ourselves in. First thing we do, we check everything. We go through this place with a fine-tooth comb. It takes 4 hours to do it. 12 hours later, we get up, we go do it again. Twice a day, every day. This place gone through head to toe looking for issues. That'll show up 8 out of our 24-hour shift. Gives us 16 to go. You're gonna see signs painted on the walls? No loan zone. SAP, 2-man policy. You ever hear of the buddy system for like swimming? This is the buddy system for working with nuclear weapons. It's about safety, it's about trust. I'm watching you, lady. And you're watching me. You go back there, Captain, you go too. Someone goes out that glass door, someone's in your hip pocket right next to you. This room is manned every second of every day by at least one officer, one enlisted. There's always at least 2 people in the control center. You can't have anybody sabotaging it, stealing and selling on top secret information, or worse, one of us goes crazy, wants to end the world, they're gonna try to launch it. We watch each other. It's like a fishbowl down here. The only place you can be alone, up in that cruise quarters. We chat 4 hours. We could go take a nap, cook ourselves something to eat, or just get away from the stress, the tension, and the noise of this room for a little bit. Say it's 3 in the morning, Captain, we've been down here for like 20 hours. We're sealed in. There's no radio, there's no television, and there's no news. When we lock those doors behind us, we've locked out all access to the world. We have no idea what's happening up there. All we know, what the Air Force decides to tell us, comes through these 2 speakers connected to all your radios. Top speakers connected to Strategic Air Command Headquarters in Omaha, Nebraska. The bottom speakers connected to the 15th Air Force Headquarters, Riverside, California. If the Soviets had launched a nuclear strike and destroyed that base, we would have received the message from the other one. They wiped that one out too, wipe out Washington, kill the president. We have a flying command post, codenamed Looking Glass. We refer to it as a doomsday plane. Every second of every day, we have generals and admirals in the skies over America, safe from a nuclear attack that can give us the orders to retaliate in the combinations we need to launch. They're always up there, folks, up there right this second. Strategic Air Command. They're in charge of all our nuclear weapons. Doesn't matter what branch of the service. So they send out a message, it goes out to all of us at the same time. The Titan IIs, the Minutemen missiles, all our bombers, all our nuclear submarines. Message may be for one of them, may be for us. It could be a test, it could be a simulated launch, or it could be the real deal. We don't know, they all sound the same. So until we get that message, write it all down and then decode it, we're not sure what's going on. But crews have been trained to believe. You hear this alarm you're about to hear, it means it could be World War III. You better bank on it, drop what you're doing, get the control center, decode that message and figure out what's going on. First thought goes through a 19-year-old crew member's head when this thing goes off. Oh my God, this is it. Every time that alarm goes off, you literally jump out of your skin. We've been trained to believe this is the end of the world. Now, it can also be boring here too at times. There's 4 of us down here for 24 hours, staring at each other. We're basically just sitting here, waiting for an order to come from that speaker, front the president, tell us to end the world, and hoping it never ever does. But the boredom is punctuated by moments of sheer terror every time this goes off. That is a preamble to an emergency action message. All your radios are going off. The captain has a top secret emergency action message book, and so does our deputy. You crack it open, there's a couple top secret forms in here, and they each have a grease pencil. They're going to read off a 41-character message. You're both going to copy it down in your books. Then you exchange your books, they'll repeat the message, you copy it down again. Then you put your 2 books together and you make sure you copy down the same exact thing. When it comes to nuclear weapons in America, at least 2 people need to agree to do anything. Not even a president, thank God, can run off and make some crazy decision on his own. People need to agree with him as part of America's checks and balances. We're going to decode this. Unfortunately for us today, I guarantee this is the one message no crew member ever wanted to receive. This is the real deal. We've been ordered to launch. There's only 2 places we can get a launch order from. One is the president, and if he's already dead, then the doomsday plane. We need to make sure it came from one of those 2 sources. We need to authenticate this message. This now allows us to go into that red safe. That's our emergency war order safe, for our go to war safe. One of the most top secret documents in America used to be held in that safe, called the PSYOPs, our nuclear battle plans. The battle plans for every nuclear weapon America possessed and what to do with them was held in that safe. That book is incredibly top secret. It's the most top secret thing about this silo. It's still top secret to this day. We were ordered to guard that book with our lives. We're going to pull that book out of there, Captain. We're going to take out 24 of these authenticator cards that are kept in there. Choose the one that corresponds with the first two characters of that message. Take this one, Delta Foxtrot. These are made out of hard plastic. We call it the cookie. Crack open the cookie. Pull out the authenticator card. You ever hear of the nuclear football? Officer follows around the president everywhere he goes, 24/7. Has a briefcase handcuffed to it with the launch codes in it. This is what's in that briefcase. These are the launch codes. You're going to line that up with both your books. You're going to make sure it lines up exactly. If it does, if you agree, Commander, it's authenticated, came from the president, we've been ordered to launch. The message itself, tell us what page in that PSYOPs book to go to. What battle are we fighting? There's all different scenarios in that book based upon what they think the Soviets have already launched at us. We're going in that plan. It's going to tell you what time to launch. Take your grease pencil, write the time in big numbers across the face of your clock so we don't make a mistake. This is synchronized to the second. There are 54 Titan IIs about to fly over the North Pole. There are 1,000 Minuteman missiles going over the North Pole. All our nuclear submarines are firing off hundreds of their missiles. All our bombers are getting airborne. They're flying over the North Pole. It all can't go at the same time. It has to go exactly when it has to go. That's why your clock has to be so accurate. Captain. The message will tell you which of our 3 pre-programmed targets we're aiming at. You punch it in there. And it's going to give you the combination to the butterfly valve for the first time ever. You read it off to me. I'll enter the combination here, break the seal, flip this up, hit that switch. If I get a green light, they gave me a good code, the butterfly valves are unlocked, and we're about to launch. Now we know a couple other things at this point. We know if we've been ordered to launch by the president, that means that we have completely, utterly, miserably failed at our job. Our goal was peace. Our mission, peace through deterrence, we've blown it. There's no more deterrence, there's no more peace. We're already at war. The Soviets have already launched. There's going to be nuclear warheads raining down on American cities within minutes. Folks, it only takes 30 minutes for a nuclear missile to reach anywhere in America from Russia. That's it. Any moment of any day. Right at this very moment, there are 1,600 active nuclear warheads that are never more than 30 minutes away from completely wiping out America. 30 minutes. In that 30-minute flight, NORAD, Northern American Air Defense, has to spot the launchers on the radar. Take the time to verify that they're actual missiles in order to glitch a mistake, which has happened. Then you got to get the President, Joint Chief of Staff, Head of Security Council up in Air Force One, where they're safe, and they need to figure out what's going on. What have the Soviets done? What have they launched at us? What are we going to do? How do we retaliate? What battle are we fighting? Break open the football. Send out the coach, Strategic Air Command, Doomsday Plane, 15th Air Force, and they need to broadcast out over all the radios, the launch codes, the Titan IIs, the Minutemen, the bombers, and the nuclear subs. That's going to take them 20 to 25 minutes to figure all that stuff out, at least, before you even get the first message, which gives us a 5-minute warning, it gives us 5 minutes to launch, it gives us 5 minutes left to live here. We're the first target. The Russians don't want that going back at them, wiping out an entire city, trying to catch us napping. They're trying to catch those missiles still in the silo. We're not going to let that happen. We're launching. You ready? Ready? You're in the chair, you better be. All right, folks, here we go. Where do we launch missiles in America with big red buttons? Hollywood, folks, come on. The movies. In fact, every movie you ever seen, somebody's hitting a big red button. No idea how they came up with that. The 2 big red buttons? Just tell us the doors are open. That's all. In the real world, we use keys. There's a set of keys in that safe. Captain, your key goes here. Deputy, your key is right there. The keys are angled. They're 7.5 feet apart, so one person can't reach both. Spring loaded to the off position, just like the ignition in your car. You can't turn one and go turn the other. They need to go exactly at the same time. You ready now? Stand up, put your left hand on those keys. Just don't turn them there. All right, Captain, listen to me. You're the boss. So in an authoritative voice, you're going to tell your deputy here. Give him a countdown. 3, 2, 1, launch. On launch, you're going to turn him clockwise. You're going to hold him till I tell you to let him go. Tell him.
3,
Towards me.
3, 2, 1.
Hold him. Take 5 seconds. All right, you can let go. You can sit. You did your job. You did what the Air Force paid you to do. You just joined World War III. If the president calls now and says, stop it, we made a huge mistake, too bad. There's no oops mine, there's no self-destruct. There's no possible way to stop it now. Keys have been turned. This is going to launch. This is the launch sequence. First light, launch enable. Launch enable means everything's been checked, everything's a go. Second light, battery's activated. There's 2 batteries sitting on that missile being force fed electrolyte for the first time. Takes 28 seconds to fill them up. Once they're full, you get ABS power light. That means the batteries are charged, the missile's on its own. Silo soft, the door just lifted up, slid open, went through tipsy, set off the alarm, silo's wide open now. Next light, guidance go. Guidance computer's talking to McGack for the last time. It's getting its coordinates. Where's it going? How does it get there? What does it do when it reaches that point? Fire engines, the butterfly valve just opened up, the 2 fuels mixed. That missile is lit up out there. All your fire alarms are going up, Captain. When the missile gets to 77% of its full thrust, the 4 explosive bolts that hold it down explode, and the Titan II starts lumping up out of that silo. 2 seconds later, liftoff. It's on its way. 58 seconds, folks. That's all this takes to launch, is 58 seconds. Which means it takes less than a minute to end the world. This is what made it so frightening to the Russians. The previous missile, Titan I, went on liquid oxygen. If they got a message, they would have to run out there and fill it up with fuel. Raise it out of the ground on an elevator and try to launch it. That would take 20 minutes. They only had 5. All vulnerable, all targeted, they weren't afraid of them. To tell you too, with that hypergolic fuel, as long as we keep our silo at 60 degrees at all times, that missile can sit out there, fueled up indefinitely, ready to go at a moment's notice. So it only takes us 3 minutes from the time we get the message till it's on its way, which gives us 2 minutes to say our prayers down here, because we know one's incoming. Whether the Soviets can hit us or not, we have no idea. But they only have to miss by less than a mile to take us out. First thing, Captain, get some bungee, put out all the files in the silo. Call the base, tell them we had a successful launch. MFT is closing that silo, close your door, try to buy you some added protection. I need to kill a pile of everything below ground, but there's one room. And we see what happens. 3 possibilities. They miss us by 50 miles or so, we're going to try to sit down here for up to 30 days. We're going to wait further orders. We're going to give the radiation we believe is up there time to dissipate somewhat, and then we're going to try to climb out of here. Into what? Into whatever's left up there. We have no idea. Nothing down here tells us what happened out there. They land run within a mile, we're instantly vaporized. The end of our problems. Or they miss us by 10, 20, 30 miles, we're covered in so much debris that we can't get out. We're trapped. We're entombed down here forever. We have 30 days of food and water stored in cans down below. At the most, we have 30 days of air left because that blast route blows. We only have enough diesel fuel left to have light for 2 more hours, and then there's 4 of us sitting down here in the dark with 2 pistols and 6 bullets each if we each decide to go out that way, instead of suffocating to death in the dark. But that's a personal decision every crew member makes for themselves. And it's no better for you folks. All we know is what's going on with that missile. Headed towards target 2. Target 2 is the default target, always aimed at target 2. Target 2 was top secret in 1963 and remains top secret to this day because chances are we still have something aimed at target 2. You know what's a target 2? Good answer, neither do we. We have one of the highest top secret security clearances you could possibly obtain from the government to do this job, but we didn't have the need to know. If we actually launch this thing right now, say in Moscow, 30 minutes from now, it's going to kill 12 million people instantly. 12 million people with a turn of a couple keys. They didn't want to put that on the crew members. They didn't want to make it any harder than it had to be, turning those keys, knowing who those poor people are about to be. It made a difference not knowing. I can't speak for every crew, but my crew, we didn't really talk about it. We didn't really want to know. All we know is what happens when we get there. Titan II is going 800 miles into space over the North Pole, 4 times higher than the space station flies. Hits its apogee, its highest point, bomb starts arming itself, traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. Travels up to 6,500 miles away, lands on target 2. Target 2 is set for a ground burst. The original bunker buster, we're digging something out of the ground. Missile silo, command center, maybe a bunker under the Kremlin. The bomb detonates right when it hits the ground, instantaneously blowing a crater in the earth, 3/4 of a mile wide, 450 feet deep, vaporizing whatever is there. It looks like it got hit by an asteroid. That's what the hole looks like. Now, depending on what the Soviets have done, if they launch a full-scale nuclear attack like everything, then we're shooting everything we have right back at them, and we're not shooting at their silos now, we're shooting at their cities now. We're going to take the 54 Titan IIs. With the 9 million tons of TNT on board, we're going to completely wipe off the face of the earth 54 of the Russians' largest cities and every living creature in them. Retaliation, the doomsday scenario. This is the end of the world, Captain. You're going to be running to switch from target 2 to 1 and 3. Targets 1 and 3 are set for an airburst. An airburst is much worse than a ground burst. An airburst is what we used to wipe out entire cities. Now the bomb detonates 14,000 feet above the ground. In 1/1,000,000th of a second, it'll create a 3-mile wide fireball. That fireball is 10 million degrees. It's brighter than 100 suns. And then at 10 times the speed of sound, shock wave, blast wave, and the heat wave fire out. Just the wind. 7,000 mile per hour blast of wind. That is going to completely wipe out 900 square miles of Earth. 900 square miles of Earth. The bombs that we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki destroyed 5 square miles. This is 900. That's a city 30 miles across. My city, your city, any city. Beijing, Moscow, Washington, instantly gone. Every major American city is instantly gone. Every major city around the world is instantly gone. And whoever lives in those cities, they're gone. And then for miles and miles beyond that, fires are raging, homes are burning, people are igniting. This is a devastating weapon. Earth has never seen anything like that thing before. This is what we thought we needed to keep the Soviet Union at bay. Keep them from starting World.War.III to keep the peace. The good news, obviously, never got a message to turn the key. The simplest plan you could possibly imagine to keep you all safe is called MAD, Mutually Assured Destruction. I told you there's 1,600 warheads aimed at us right this second, just from Russia. We have 1,600 aimed at them. There's no way anyone can win a nuclear war. Everybody knows that. So all Matt says, as long as everybody knows they can't win a nuclear war, well, hopefully no one will ever be crazy enough to try. That's the plan, folks. Sorry. That's all there is. And it's worked perfectly so far. But it depends on no one out there being crazy enough to try. We can't honestly say that any longer. You see what's going on in the news? The world is on fire. We're closer to a nuclear war today than we've ever been in our history. For 24 years, Titan II is America's biggest baddest deterrent. All the men and the women served down here did our job, accomplished our mission, mission of peace, peace through deterrence. We have men and women right this second, underground in our Minuteman silos, under the ocean in their nuclear submarines, ready to hop in their bombers at a moment's notice, keeping America's terror force, keeping America safe, keeping America at peace. Now, Captain, the crews we sent out to Vandenberg Air Force Base test launch out of their silos reported back to the rest of us. They couldn't hear it or feel it take off. That's how isolated the control center is from that giant rocket 250 feet down the cableaway. So you gotta go make sure it's still down there, right? Or you owe me a lot of money. You got a credit card? You're in trouble. All right, folks, we're gonna head down that long cableaway. Watch your heads. When you get to the end, you'll see a missile. You can't miss it. When you do get to the end, go as far left as possible. That's where the best windows are, and we're gonna continue down there.
Or your volunteer position?
No, I work here.
I figured you were working, so it's a pretty good job.
Yeah, the retirement job.
Yeah.
Vehicle. Just like the one in the gift shop, that's where the lawyer sits. That's the only part of this rocket that'll reach its target. Rest is just to get it started. It's 103 feet tall, 10 feet in diameter, and weighs 330,000 pounds loaded with fuel. First stage engine has 87% of them landed in the lagoon in direct hit. 2 failures, couple near misses. 87% accuracy in the 1960s, but that rocket was incredible. We could do it. Soviets, not a chance. Their missiles were great, their engines were incredible, but their guidance system was god awful. They weren't sure where the warhead was going to end up. Watch the record. All right? So wait this way, folks.
I know you're waiting for the picture. So go over to that one too, look. And then you can actually catch the picture there.
And if you need a rest, you can rest. Don't push yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great, bro.
Missile there, whoever thought they could climb out of it? Even a detonation 30 miles away, we're covering in so much debris, there's no way to get it open, there's no way to get out. If you survive the bomb, you're still going to die down there one way or another. Now, in order to become a museum, we had to make a deal with the Russians. They all Satan won, because the 20 megaton bomb they put on that thing. They didn't bother to put theirs back in the hole, they just laid it on the ground. That's why this is the only place you can see one.